Hello everyone, and I hope you're having a good time today. I'm very excited that you can join me in this video. My name is Peter Esesele and I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I'm at the university, a PhD student at the University of Alberta. So today I want to be talking about supervisor-student relationship. How do you maximize and have the best relationship with your graduate supervisor? So congratulations, if you already starting your program new as a master student or as a PhD student, you've done a lot of work to secure that professor, that supervisor, and now you're coming from your country, and then or if you're a local student, you're planning to now start a master's or a PhD. So see your professor as a kind of a mentor in your graduate journey. When you're coming as a master's student or as a PhD, you have a professor, or your supervisor is basically the one that is going to be guiding you, help you through the journey in a project that you are going to be doing. They are not the one that will do the project for you, but they are basically going to guide you, to be able to make sure that you have and do the program effectively, and you are able to maximize the program. So one of the first things you really want to do is to understand your supervisor's supervision style. Every professor is different. Some require you to be in the lab all the time. Some will require you to just produce results. You can say, okay, at the beginning of the week, these are the things I want to do, and then at the end of the week, you report to your professor, this is what I have done. There are some that want to see you in the lab all the time, so you really want to first of all know what is the professor's expectation. So these are the conversations that you need to have with the professor at the very start of your program. What are his or her expectations? What does he expect from you, or she expect from you as a student in the lab, And then another thing is going to be who is going to be teaching you what and what, because you kind of don't have to operate any equipment or any assay you don't really know how to do. So you have to get all of the necessary training before you'll be able to perform all of those experiments that you want to do. So in terms of who is going to teach you those things, then you kind of have to you need to have that conversation as well. If you're very fortunate and you have older students in the lab, then you must be very fortunate, because if you have older students in the lab, they will basically help and guide you to learning some of the techniques and some of the things that you might be needing in your program. And if you are the only student in the lab, then you have to kind of have that conversation in terms of how am I going to be learning things, but you first need to know what are some of those things that you need to learn, and then having those regular conversations with your professor is very, very important. One of the things that professors really want, they want students that are very innovative and creative, and they're able to think. They don't want to do the thinking for you. Okay, so when you're going to meet your professor, plan. And most times they can have like an agenda of the things that are going to be discussed. Take your time to prepare, and then if you have any questions or any concern, then you might be able to ask those questions when you meet your professor. So another thing you want to find out is from your professor, how often is the meeting going to be like. Are we going to be meeting weekly or twice, bi-weekly, and then how is the reporting format going to be? Do I send you my agenda ahead of time? Do I send in the data ahead of time? So this kind of help you to know what exactly the professor's style is. Don't assume anything, especially when you're coming from another country. Don't assume anything. I did that when I just came in. I thought the professors are the way I used to know professors back then. I was using that approach to kind of relate with them, and then they're like, it was something different because I wasn't the first Nigerian or African that my professor was supervising, so she pretty much have an idea of where we are coming from, and then some of the things that we need to learn. So they can be very patient with you to learn those techniques. Just like as a baby, you can be making a lot of mistakes, not you can be making some mistakes and you're pardoned, at the very start because you're just learning it. And as time progressed, the expectation also increased in terms of what the professor expects from you and the data that you are expected to generate and all of these things. So those are the conversations that you need to have. And then don't die in silence. Don't allow the research to overwhelm you. When it feels like things are just getting so overwhelming, that is why your professor is there. Most of the time we as students, we don't want to communicate with our professors because we think, oh, if I tell them now, they will think that I'm not a smart student, I'm not able to handle challenges, but your mental health is very important in graduate school. If the supervisor-student relationship is not in order, then you're going to run into a lot of problems. So you must be able to talk to your professors, your professor, and explain to him or her what things are. If you are doing an experiment in a lab and it's not working, you try several things, have the conversation with your professor, and then they can look at your protocol and see what is wrong, where things have gone wrong, and they will be able to help you and guide you in the right path. But just make sure that you are engaging in conversation. Whatever question that you have, you should be able to ask those questions. Another thing is to discuss is your timeline. If you're doing a master's program, for example, most of the time it's a 2-year program, so you need to find out what is your timeline like. Okay, in the first 6 months I'm just going to be learning, and then in the other second 6 months I'm going to be starting my experiment. Going to the third 6 months I'm going to be doing all my experiments and everything, and then in the last quarter of the masters I'm going to be pulling my data together, writing my thesis, and then putting things together. So it's good to always have a plan, to have a plan of your timeline, so that if you are behind schedule, you'll be able to see and know that, okay, I need to work things out as soon as possible so that I can meet up the timeline. So the supervisor-student relationship in grad school is a very important thing to your success, to your mental health, to your overall progress. So make sure you have a wonderful relationship with your professor. And if you are having difficulties with your professor, in terms of relating with him or her, talk to people about it. There are graduate coordinator. If you're having a hard time, you can speak to the graduate coordinator, or then that can relate information and then tell you exactly what next step to do. But if you're still having a question to ask regarding supervisor-student relationship, you can do well to leave a comment in a question in the comment section below, and then I will try to respond as soon as possible. Yeah, thank you for watching that wonderful video. If this is the first time on my channel, do well to hit the subscribe button so that whenever new videos are released, you'll be the first person to get notified of our videos. Thank you so much.